Whispers in the margins. Evelyn Carter adjusted the collar of her coat against the crisp autumn air as she walked down the cobblestone streets of New Haven's historic quarter. The familiar crunch of leaves underfoot was a comforting sound, yet today it did little to quell the unease that had settled within her. It had been months since she last visited Whispering Pages, the quaint bookshop nestled between a cafe and an antique store. But an inexplicable pull had drawn her back. As she approached, the shop's sign swung gently in the breeze, its faded letters whispering promises of forgotten tales. Evelyn hesitated at the entrance, her hand hovering over the door handle. She could almost hear her grandfather's voice urging her forward, reminding her of the countless hours they had spent here together, poring over dusty tomes and sharing stories of ancient languages. With a deep breath, she pushed open the door. A bell chimed softly above her head, announcing her arrival. The familiar scent of old paper and ink enveloped her like an embrace. She glanced around, taking in the tall shelves lined with books that seemed to stretch endlessly into shadowed corners. "Ah, Evelyn," came a voice from behind a stack of books. "I was wondering when you'd return." Evelyn turned to find the shopkeeper, an elderly woman with silver hair pulled into a neat bun and eyes that sparkled with a wisdom that defied age. Her name was Agnes, and she had been a fixture in Evelyn's life for as long as she could remember. "Hello, Agnes," Evelyn replied, offering a tentative smile. "It's been too long." Agnes nodded knowingly. "Time has a way of slipping through our fingers, doesn't it? But I have something for you." She gestured for Evelyn to follow her to the counter. Curiosity piqued. Evelyn trailed behind Agnes as she retrieved a small wooden box from beneath the counter. "These belong to your grandfather," Agnes said, her voice softening. "He left them here for you." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat as she accepted the box. Inside were several journals, their leather covers worn and pages yellowed with age. Her grandfather had always been meticulous with his notes, documenting everything from linguistic theories to personal reflections. As she flipped through one of the journals, something caught her eye. In the margins were cryptic symbols and phrases written in a language she couldn't immediately recognize. Her brow furrowed in concentration as she traced the unfamiliar script with her fingertips. "Do you know what these mean?" Evelyn asked, glancing up at Agnes. The shopkeeper's smile was enigmatic. "Your grandfather was a man of many secrets, Evelyn. He often spoke of the Keepers of Echoes." "The Keepers of Echoes?" Evelyn repeated, intrigued. "A society dedicated to preserving forgotten knowledge," Agnes explained. "Your grandfather was deeply involved with them." Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. Her grandfather had always been passionate about uncovering hidden truths, but he had never mentioned such a society to her. Why had he kept this part of his life hidden? "There's much more to discover," Agnes continued, her gaze steady, "but only if you're willing to look beyond what's written on the page." Evelyn closed the journal gently, her decision made. "I want to know more," she said firmly. "I need to understand what my grandfather was trying to tell me." Agnes nodded approvingly. "Then follow where the echoes lead you." As Evelyn left Whispering Pages, journals clutched tightly in her arms. She felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring within her. The mysterious messages in the margins were just the beginning of a journey that promised to unravel not only her grandfather's past, but perhaps also her own future. The sun dipped below the horizon as Evelyn made her way home, casting long shadows across the streets. Yet despite the encroaching darkness, she felt a lightness in her step, a whisper of hope carried on the evening breeze. The path ahead was uncertain, but Evelyn Carter was no stranger to navigating uncharted territories. With each step, she resolved to uncover the truth hidden within those cryptic symbols and to honor the legacy of a man who had always believed that some stories were worth telling, even if they echoed from the margins of forgotten pages. Chapter 2: Shadows of the Past. The echoes of the jazz club reverberated through Evelyn's mind as she approached the entrance, the neon sign flickering like a heartbeat above the door. The underground venue was tucked away beneath New Haven's bustling streets, its presence known only to those who sought it out. Evelyn hesitated at the threshold, recalling Agnes's words about following where the echoes led her. She could almost feel her grandfather's spirit guiding her into the dimly lit depths. Inside, the club was a world unto itself, a tapestry of sound and shadow. The air was thick with the rich aroma of cigars and aged whiskey, mingling with the soulful notes of a saxophone that wove through the conversations of patrons gathered in intimate clusters. Evelyn scanned the room, her eyes adjusting to the low light. She was here to find Lucas Reed, a name whispered among the keepers of echoes. Spotting him wasn't difficult. Lucas sat at a corner table, his presence commanding yet unobtrusive, like a shadow that knew exactly where it belonged. His dark hair fell in loose waves around his face, framing eyes that seemed to see more than they let on. As Evelyn approached, he looked up, a slow smile spreading across his lips. "Evelyn Carter," he greeted, his voice smooth and inviting, yet carrying an undercurrent of something unspoken. "I wondered how long it would take for you to find me." She slid into the seat opposite him, her gaze steady. "You seem to know more about me than I do about you." Lucas chuckled softly. "That's often how it starts. But I assure you, I'm an open book, at least as much as any keeper can be." Evelyn leaned forward, lowering her voice to match the intimacy of their surroundings. "I need answers about my grandfather, about the Keepers of Echoes, and what he was involved in." Lucas's expression shifted, his smile fading into something more serious. "Your grandfather was a remarkable man. His work with us was significant." "But," Evelyn prompted, sensing the weight behind his words. "But he also understood the dangers of the knowledge we guard," Lucas replied. "Not all truths are meant to be uncovered." The conversation paused as a waiter arrived with drinks, 2 tumblers of amber liquid that caught the warm glow of the club's subdued lighting. Lucas raised his glass in a silent toast before taking a sip. "I don't believe in leaving questions unanswered," Evelyn said, breaking the silence. "If there's something dangerous about this knowledge, shouldn't we understand it fully?" Lucas studied her for a moment, as if weighing her resolve. "You're like him in that way, unwavering in your pursuit of truth." "And you? Where do you stand?" Evelyn asked, probing for any hint of allegiance. His gaze held hers, steady and unflinching. "I stand with the keepers, but I also believe some secrets need breathing room before they're brought to light." Evelyn considered his words, sensing both sincerity and caution in them. She knew she was dealing with someone who had his own agenda, a fact she couldn't afford to ignore. Their conversation continued, a dance of words laced with tension and curiosity. They spoke of hidden archives and forgotten libraries, tales of ancient languages and lost civilizations that the keepers sought to protect, or perhaps exploit. With each exchange, Evelyn felt her understanding deepen, but also become more complex. As their dialogue wound down, Lucas leaned back in his chair, reaching into his jacket pocket. He produced a small folded note and slid it across the table to Evelyn. "Consider this an invitation," he said cryptically, "if you're truly ready to uncover what lies beneath New Haven." Evelyn unfolded the note carefully. Scrawled in Lucas's neat handwriting was an address, one she didn't recognize, and below it, a time. "What's there?" she asked. "A library," Lucas replied simply. "One forgotten by most, but not by those who know where to look." She met his gaze once more, seeking any sign of deception but finding only an enigmatic sincerity that both intrigued and unsettled her. "I'll be there," she said finally, tucking the note into her coat pocket. Lucas stood, offering her one last smile before disappearing into the crowd, leaving Evelyn alone at the table with her thoughts, and the steady pulse of jazz enveloping her. As she exited the club, the night air hit her with a refreshing chill that cleared her mind. She replayed their conversation over and over, passing each word for hidden meanings, every gesture for clues about Lucas's true intentions. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but as Evelyn walked back through New Haven's winding streets, she felt an undeniable pull towards whatever lay beneath its surface. She thought of her grandfather's journals and the cryptic symbols that had started this journey, a journey now entwined with shadows of the past and promises of revelations yet to come. Her steps quickened as she resolved to follow where these echoes led her next. And somewhere in the distance, she could almost hear the faint whisper of pages turning in anticipation of what she might discover in that forgotten library beneath New Haven. Chapter 3. The Keeper's Secret. The entrance to the forgotten library was hidden in plain sight, nestled between two towering brick buildings in one of New Haven's oldest districts. Evelyn stood before the inconspicuous doorway, its weathered wood and tarnished brass handle bearing the weight of decades, if not centuries. The address Lucas had given her led here, to this unassuming portal that promised secrets buried beneath the city's surface. Taking a deep breath, Evelyn pushed open the door, which creaked ominously, echoing her own trepidation. Inside, a narrow staircase spiraled downward into darkness, lit only by flickering sconces mounted on the stone walls. Each step she took seemed to carry her further from the bustling world above and deeper into an undercurrent of history and enigma. At the bottom of the stairs, Evelyn emerged into a vast chamber that sprawled out in all directions. The library was a cathedral of knowledge, its vaulted ceilings supported by intricately carved stone columns. Shelves filled with ancient tomes lined the walls, their spines inscribed with titles in languages long forgotten by most of the world. Candles cast a warm glow, illuminating clusters of people scattered throughout the room. They spoke in hushed tones, their conversations blending into a gentle murmur that filled the air like the rustling of pages. "Evelyn Carter," a voice called out, drawing her attention to a tall figure standing near a cluster of tables laden with manuscripts. Tim Robertson, his sandy hair slightly disheveled and glasses perched precariously on his nose, waved her over with a slight smile. Evelyn approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of Lucas or other familiar faces. "Tim Robertson," she acknowledged, her tone neutral, as she recalled Agnes's mention of his contentious history with her grandfather. Tim gestured for her to sit. "I must admit, I was surprised when Lucas mentioned you would be joining us. Your grandfather spoke highly of you." Her curiosity piqued. Evelyn settled into a chair opposite him. "What exactly did he say?" Tim leaned back, folding his arms thoughtfully. "He admired your tenacity and your ability to see patterns where others saw chaos. It's a rare gift." Evelyn nodded, absorbing the compliment with a hint of pride. "He left behind journals filled with cryptic messages. I'm hoping they can help me understand what he was involved in." Tim's expression turned serious. "Your grandfather was one of our most dedicated members. He believed that some knowledge should remain hidden to protect humanity from itself." "And what do you believe?" Evelyn asked, testing the waters. "I believe knowledge is power," Tim replied evenly, "but power can corrupt if not handled with care." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of several others, members of the Keepers of Echoes, who joined them at the table. Among them was a woman with striking red hair and an air of authority that suggested she was someone of importance within the society. "Evelyn," she greeted warmly. "I'm Lillian Gray. It's an honor to finally meet you." Evelyn shook her hand, noting the firm grip and steady gaze that spoke of confidence and leadership. "Likewise," she replied, though her mind buzzed with questions about each person's role within this enigmatic group. As introductions concluded, Lillian addressed the gathering. "We are here because we share a common purpose, to safeguard knowledge that could reshape our understanding of history and humanity." Evelyn listened intently as Lillian detailed the Keeper's mission, to preserve ancient texts and artifacts that held truths about civilizations long vanished from memory. But it wasn't just about preservation, it was also about protection, ensuring that such knowledge didn't fall into the wrong hands. "Your grandfather was instrumental in guiding our efforts," Lillian continued. "His disappearance left a void we're still struggling to fill." The mention of her grandfather's disappearance struck a chord within Evelyn. She had always assumed he passed away peacefully, but now she wondered if there was more to his story than she'd been told. "What happened to him?" Evelyn asked, her voice tinged with urgency. Tim exchanged a glance with Lillian before answering. "He vanished while on an expedition to retrieve an artifact believed to hold immense power." "Did anyone try to find him?" Evelyn pressed, feeling a mix of frustration and determination. "We did," Lillian assured her, "but every lead ended in dead ends or more questions." The discussion shifted towards the dangers associated with uncovering forgotten knowledge, debates that mirrored those Evelyn had with Lucas at the jazz club. Some members advocated for transparency and sharing discoveries with the world, while others feared such actions could lead to catastrophic consequences. As tensions rose around the table, Evelyn found herself caught in the crossfire of conflicting ideologies. Her grandfather's journals were at the heart of this debate, a puzzle she alone seemed destined to solve. "Perhaps it's time we trusted Evelyn with more," Tim suggested. His gaze meeting hers with a mix of hope and caution. Lillian nodded thoughtfully. "Agreed, but only if she's ready." Evelyn felt the weight of their expectations pressing upon her shoulders, an inheritance she hadn't anticipated, but one she couldn't ignore. She realized that whether she liked it or not, she was now part of something much larger than herself, something that could redefine her understanding of her grandfather's legacy and perhaps even change the course of history. "I'm ready," she declared firmly, her voice carrying an unwavering resolve that silenced any lingering doubts. With those words, Evelyn Carter took another step deeper into the labyrinthine world of the Keepers of Echoes, a world where secrets were currency, and every revelation came with its own set of risks and responsibilities. As discussions continued around her, Evelyn felt both apprehension and excitement intertwining within her heart, a duality that mirrored the path she had chosen to walk. The echoes of forgotten knowledge called out to her from every corner of this hidden library, a symphony waiting for its next conductor to bring harmony from chaos. And as Evelyn embraced this new chapter in her journey, she knew there would be no turning back. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but also promise, a promise she intended to fulfill as she followed where these echoes led her next. In that moment, beneath New Haven's bustling streets and amidst ancient tomes whispering tales untold, Evelyn Carter embraced her destiny as both seeker and keeper of echoes from ages past. Chapter 4. A Dance of Truths. The soft glow of street lamps cast elongated shadows across the cobblestones as Evelyn walked through the labyrinthine streets of New Haven. The city was an intricate tapestry of history and modernity, each alleyway whispering secrets of the past. Her mind was a tumult of questions and revelations, each thought a thread in the complex weave of her grandfather's legacy. The journals, the cryptic symbols, the shadowy society of the keepers, everything was leading her somewhere, and she felt both exhilarated and apprehensive about where that might be. Her footsteps echoed softly in the quiet evening as she approached a small courtyard tucked away from the main thoroughfares. It was a place she had passed countless times, yet tonight it felt different, charged with an energy she couldn't quite place. As she entered, she found Lucas Reed waiting for her, leaning casually against a wrought-iron bench. "Evelyn," he greeted, his voice a low murmur that blended with the rustling leaves. "I wasn't sure you'd come." She paused, taking in his relaxed posture, and the way his eyes seemed to hold secrets of their own. "I wasn't sure either," she admitted, moving to stand beside him. "But there's too much at stake to walk away now." Lucas nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "You've been busy," he observed, gesturing to the journals peeking out from her bag. Evelyn followed his gaze, feeling the weight of the leather-bound volumes that had become both a burden and a beacon. "Busy trying to make sense of all this," she replied. "Every answer seems to lead to more questions." "That's often the way of things," Lucas said, pushing off the bench to face her fully. "But sometimes it's not about finding answers. It's about understanding what those questions mean." His words lingered in the air between them, a challenge wrapped in wisdom. Evelyn met his gaze, searching for any hint of deception, but finding only sincerity. "And what do your questions mean?" she asked, probing gently into the layers of their shared mystery. Lucas hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. "I was brought into the Keepers by someone I trusted, someone who believed in the power of knowledge to change the world for the better." "But," Evelyn prompted, sensing the hesitation beneath his words. "But I've seen how easily that power can corrupt," he confessed. "The line between preservation and exploitation is thin, and not everyone walks it with integrity." Evelyn absorbed his confession, recognizing echoes of her own internal struggle. She had wrestled with similar doubts ever since Agnes had handed her those journals, a Pandora's box of secrets waiting to be unleashed. "What about you?" Lucas asked, turning the spotlight back on her. "What do you hope to find in all this?" She considered his question carefully, knowing that her answer would reveal more than just her intentions. It would define her path forward. I want to understand my grandfather's legacy, she said slowly, to honor his memory by uncovering the truth he sought to protect. Lucas nodded, a look of respect in his eyes. Then we're not so different after all. Their conversation flowed like a dance. Each question and answer, a step in a choreography neither had rehearsed, but both understood instinctively. As they spoke, Evelyn felt herself drawn deeper into Lucas's world, a world where every secret held the potential for both enlightenment and danger. Tell me about your past, she said suddenly, curious about the man who seemed to straddle both sides of this enigmatic society. A shadow crossed Lucas's face, a flicker of vulnerability that vanished as quickly as it appeared. There's not much to tell, he said with a shrug, though Evelyn sensed there was more beneath the surface. Try me, she challenged gently. He sighed, running a hand through his hair as if trying to untangle memories best left forgotten. I grew up in a family that valued knowledge above all else, he began reluctantly. Books were my companions, and libraries were my playgrounds. Evelyn listened intently, picturing a young Lucas exploring dusty shelves much like she had with her grandfather. Sounds familiar, she remarked with a soft smile. Lucas returned her smile, though it was tinged with sadness. My parents were scholars, always searching for that one discovery that would change everything, but sometimes they forgot about the people right in front of them. His words resonated with Evelyn, stirring memories of her own childhood spent in libraries while her grandfather pursued his own scholarly quests. She understood the loneliness that could accompany such pursuits, the sacrifices made in the name of knowledge. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Lucas shrugged again, dismissing her sympathy, but appreciating it nonetheless. It's part of who I am, just like your grandfather is part of who you are. They stood together in silence for a moment, two seekers bound by shared histories and uncertain futures. Eventually, Lucas broke the quiet with a question that hung heavy in the air. If you had to choose between protecting this knowledge and exposing it, what would you do? Evelyn hesitated, knowing her answer could tip the balance between ally and adversary. I don't know, she admitted finally, but I think it depends on what's at stake, who stands to gain or lose from its revelation. Lucas studied her thoughtfully before nodding. A wise answer, he said approvingly. Their conversation continued long into the night, weaving stories and theories together like threads in an intricate tapestry. They spoke of hidden courtyards and forgotten archives, of languages lost to time and secrets whispered through generations. As dawn approached, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring within her heart, a determination to follow wherever these echoes led her next. But before they parted ways, Lucas handed her a small slip of paper, another note written in his neat handwriting. This time it bore no address or instructions, only 3 words that sent a shiver down Evelyn's spine. They know everything. The cryptic message lingered in her mind as she watched Lucas disappear into the early morning light, a reminder that their journey was far from over and that shadows still lurked at every turn. With each step back towards her apartment, Evelyn felt both anticipation and trepidation coursing through her veins, an awareness that every choice carried consequences, yet unseen. And as she tucked Lucas's note into her pocket, alongside her grandfather's journals, Evelyn Carter resolved to uncover whatever truths lay hidden within New Haven's depths, even if it meant facing unknown adversaries along the way. For in this dance of truths where past met present and secrets intertwined with destiny, Evelyn knew there was no turning back now. The echoes called out to her still, a symphony waiting for its conductor, and she intended to follow their haunting melody wherever it might lead next. Chapter 5. Betrayal in the Echoes. The dimly lit chamber was filled with an air of foreboding, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows across the room. Evelyn Carter stood at the center, her heart pounding in her chest, as she faced 2 men whose intentions were as obscured as the artifacts surrounding them. The chamber itself was a testament to forgotten history, lined with relics from ancient civilizations that had long since faded into obscurity. Racent, Lucas Reed stood to her left, his expression unreadable, while Turo the Great, an enigmatic figure from her grandfather's past, loomed to her right. The air between them crackled with tension, a silent testament to the gravity of the confrontation unfolding. Evelyn's mind raced back to the day Agnes had handed her grandfather's journals, setting her on this path of discovery and danger. Each step had led her deeper into the world of the Keepers of Echoes, a society shrouded in mystery and hidden knowledge. Now she found herself at a crossroads, forced to confront the possibility of betrayal within their ranks. Turo, with his slicked-back hair and eyes that gleamed with ambition, broke the silence first. "Evelyn," he began, his voice smooth yet edged with condescension, "I see you've become quite the detective, but surely you've realized by now that some secrets are best left buried." Evelyn met his gaze unflinchingly. "Secrets like yours, Turo? Or those my grandfather entrusted to me?" A smirk tugged at the corners of Turo's lips. "Your grandfather was a visionary, but even he understood the power of discretion. Unlike some," he added, casting a sidelong glance at Lucas. Lucas remained silent, his posture tense but composed. Evelyn could feel his presence beside her, a steadying force amidst the uncertainty swirling around them. "What do you really want, Turo?" Evelyn demanded, her voice cutting through the charged atmosphere. Turo spread his arms wide, gesturing to the artifacts surrounding them. "Control, Evelyn. Control over knowledge that could reshape the world. The Keepers have guarded it for too long, without harnessing its true potential." Evelyn's mind flashed back to her conversations with Lucas, the warnings about power and corruption that now seemed all too prescient. "And you think you're the one to wield that power?" she challenged. "Why not?" Turo countered smoothly. "With the right leadership, the Keepers could do more than just preserve history. We could redefine it." The implications of his words settled heavily in the room. Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine as she considered the ramifications of Turo's ambitions. Her grandfather had been part of this world, and his disappearance was now entwined with Turo's machinations. "You betray everything the Keepers stand for," Lucas interjected finally, his voice firm and unwavering. "We protect knowledge for future generations, not exploit it for personal gain." Turo laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "Oh, Lucas, ever the idealist. But ideals won't change the world." The confrontation reached a crescendo as Evelyn found herself at a pivotal decision point. She could expose Turo and risk fracturing the Keepers, or remain silent and let him pursue his dangerous agenda unchecked. Her mind raced through the possibilities, weighing loyalty against justice, caution against courage. She thought of her grandfather, the man who had believed in preserving knowledge not just for its own sake, but for what it could teach humanity about itself. With a deep breath, Evelyn made her choice. "Turo," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "You may see yourself as a leader, but true leadership is about more than power. It's about responsibility." He opened his mouth to retort, but Evelyn pressed on. "You talk about redefining history, but history isn't yours to rewrite. It's a tapestry woven by countless voices across time." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Turo's face, a chink in his armor that Evelyn seized upon. "I will not let you endanger everything my grandfather worked for," she declared, her determination unwavering. Lucas stepped forward, aligning himself beside Evelyn. "We're not alone in this," he added, his gaze locked with Turo's. "Others within the Keepers will stand against you." The chamber fell silent once more as Turo considered their words, his ambitions momentarily thwarted by their united front. But Evelyn knew this was only the beginning of their struggle against those who would misuse the echoes of forgotten knowledge for their own ends. The path ahead was fraught with challenges and unknown adversaries lurking in the shadows. Yet as she stood there, surrounded by relics of ages past and allies who shared her vision, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring within her heart. The echoes called out to her still, a symphony waiting for its conductor, and she intended to follow their haunting melody wherever it might lead next. For in this dance of truths where past met present and secrets intertwined with destiny, Evelyn knew there was no turning back now. And as she prepared to face whatever came next, she resolved to honor her grandfather's legacy by safeguarding not just history, but hope itself, for generations yet to come. With Lucas by her side, and the Keepers rallying behind them, Evelyn Carter stepped forward into the unknown, ready to confront betrayal in all its forms, and embrace whatever revelations lay waiting within those echoes of forgotten pages. Chapter 6. Unveiling the Forgotten. The sun had barely risen, casting a golden hue over New Haven's skyline, as Evelyn Carter stood on the rooftop of an old industrial building. The city stretched out before her, a sprawling tapestry of history and modernity that seemed to pulse with life. Her heart echoed the city's rhythm, pounding in anticipation of the day ahead. Today was the culmination of everything she had been working towards, the moment when the echoes of the past would finally unveil their secrets. Lucas Reed stood beside her, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The events of the previous night still lingered between them, a silent testament to the battle they had fought against Turo's ambitions. They had emerged victorious, but Evelyn knew that victory was only the beginning. The real challenge lay in what came next, the unveiling of forgotten knowledge and its implications for both the Keepers of Echoes and the world at large. "Are you ready for this?" Lucas asked, breaking the silence with a voice that carried both uncertainty and hope. Evelyn nodded, her resolve unwavering. "I am, but I need to know. Are you with me?" Lucas turned to face her, his expression earnest. Every step of the way. Their shared determination bolstered her confidence as they descended from the rooftop and made their way through the winding streets of New Haven. Their destination was a nondescript building on the outskirts of the city, a place known only to those who understood its significance, the Keeper's Central Archive. The building's exterior gave no hint of the treasures it held within, but Evelyn felt a thrill of anticipation as they approached. She had spent countless hours poring over her grandfather's journals, deciphering cryptic messages and piecing together clues that had led her here. Now, she was about to uncover the truth behind those whispers in the margins. Inside, the archive was a sanctuary of knowledge, a vast hall lined with shelves upon shelves of ancient tomes and artifacts. The air was thick with the scent of parchment and history, a heady mix that invigorated Evelyn's senses. As they entered, Lillian Gray greeted them with a nod of acknowledgement. Her presence was reassuring, a reminder that not all within the Keepers were swayed by Turo's vision. "Evelyn," Lillian began, her voice carrying a note of respect, "we've prepared everything for your presentation." Evelyn took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She had spent weeks preparing her findings, an intricate web of revelations that could alter the very fabric of reality if misused. Gathered around her were members of the Keepers, scholars, historians, linguists, all drawn by the promise of forgotten truths. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and caution, aware that today could change everything they thought they knew. With Lucas by her side and Lillian's support, Evelyn began her presentation. She spoke of her grandfather's work, his tireless pursuit of knowledge, and his belief in safeguarding it for future generations. She detailed her journey through New Haven's hidden corners and secret societies, each discovery leading her closer to the heart of the Keeper's mission. But it was when she unveiled her grandfather's final message, a revelation hidden within layers of coded symbols, that the room fell into a hushed silence. "This," Evelyn said, holding up a page filled with intricate script, "is what my grandfather was trying to protect." The symbols danced across the parchment like a living thing, their meaning elusive, yet tantalizingly close. As Evelyn translated them aloud, she felt the weight of history pressing down upon her, a responsibility to honor her grandfather's legacy and ensure that his work was not in vain. The message spoke of an ancient civilization lost to time, a people whose understanding of language and reality surpassed anything modern scholars could comprehend. It hinted at a power embedded within words themselves, a power that could reshape existence if wielded by those who understood its potential. Gasps echoed through the room as the Keepers absorbed this new knowledge, a revelation that challenged everything they believed about language and its role in shaping human experience. But with revelation came risk. Evelyn knew that such knowledge could be both a blessing and a curse, a tool for enlightenment or a weapon for destruction. "What do we do now?" someone asked, their voice tinged with awe and apprehension. Evelyn paused, considering her answer carefully. She thought of Lucas's question from days before, what she would choose if forced between protecting this knowledge or sharing it with the world. "We must tread carefully," she replied finally, her voice steady despite the enormity of their task. This knowledge is powerful, but it's also fragile. We must ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Lillian nodded in agreement, her expression thoughtful. We have a responsibility to protect this knowledge while also exploring its potential for good. The room buzzed with renewed energy as the keepers debated their next steps. How best to preserve this newfound understanding without succumbing to temptation or fear? As Evelyn listened to their discussions unfold around her, she felt a sense of fulfillment mingled with uncertainty, a recognition that every answer brought new questions waiting to be explored. Yet amidst this complexity lay hope, a hope rooted in connection and community, in shared purpose and collective wisdom, in echoes carried forward through time by those willing to listen. And as Evelyn stood there, surrounded by allies old and new, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. For in this unveiling, where past met present, where secrets intertwined with destiny, where echoes whispered truths yet untold, Evelyn Carter found not just answers, but also belonging. A place among those who dared to seek beyond what was known, towards what might yet be discovered. With Lucas beside her and the keepers united behind them, with history as their guide and future as their canvas, Evelyn stepped forward into an unfolding story still being written, a story shaped by echoes from ages past, now finding voice anew within each heart, willing to hear its call.